as part of their healing process, but also to not leave behind scarring, because that scar also serves as a reminder and possibly a painful reminder to them. And so that was our intention as we set out. And I believe wholeheartedly that intention influences what manifests. And so we came at it, I think, from the right perspective. And you know what you're going to hear about today from all of our expert panelists and really partners in this effort that we have is just about the uniqueness of the approach. But I wanted you to understand really where the mission started. That the idea here is that, yes, there are devices. You know, we're going to speak a little bit today about lasers and how lasers compare. We're going to speak about other saline options that are out there that are, well, we believe much less efficient and not nearly as effective at minimizing the scarring that can happen. So there's so much that can be done. We know that right now on the planet, we're going to see a lot of people who are looking to shift their career to something they're passionate about. And we think this is a cause that you can get really passionate about. And so if you find what we have to say here today intriguing, you know, don't hesitate to follow up. We'll give you all the ways that you can reach us because we're going to be doing online training courses and hands-on training courses eventually when that's possible. And so there's a lot to share with you. And on that note, let me go ahead and bring in Tina to continue the conversation. Hello, Tina.
Hello.
What would you like to add?
Thanks, Ben. So basically, I get to talk about the science, which excites me. So the number one question that people ask us is, how are you different from saline? Or they automatically assume we are a saline solution. We do have saline in our formulation, but only 10% in less. It really is not the key component in our formulation. So like Ben was saying, we were asked as a humanitarian need to develop something that worked more effective and, you know, emphasized on scar tissue repair and less painful and more effective. So, you know, you don't have to go through a series of treatments, especially because we were creating this for sex trafficking victims. So we looked at what they were using. The lady that contacted us was using methods of alkalinity, different salines, acids, even laser. So, you know, my background and Ben's background has always been skincare. So we know the skin and our holistic approach to basically working with the cells, not against them. So I was actually impressed with the saline in fact of the ionization of it. But the one thing about the saline is it stops right at the procedure. So you're dehydrating the cells, or, you know, hypertonic or osmotic, you know, you're pulling it out. But really the application stops right there, or the removal stops right there. So looking at it, and with Dr. Ben's technology, we started to look at it a different way as far as working with it. So I'm going to go over the steps and basically just kind of key points of how we differ. So it's a 4-step process. The first step is the needling. We actually perfected our needling process because we are all about skin integrity. So the needling process, we are not trying to just, you know, do a dermabrasion on the skin. We're going precise with the needles right to the ink to not obstruct this skin structure. So that's a little different. 2, we put our activation serum on. This activation serum is very unique, where we stimulate the macrophage for the removal of tattoo ink. So if you think about your macrophage, they encapsulate the ink and they try to pull it out of the body. When it can't pull it out of the body because the molecule's too big, it sits under the skin, and that's what appears is the tattoo. So, you know, methods out there, including laser, acids, and some of the salines, they are disrupting the macrophage. And again, it stops right there. So what we call to do is actually stimulate them with an ingredient called 1,3-beta-glucan. 1,3-beta-glucan, it basically tricks your body into thinking there's a yeast invasion, and it creates an immune response. And what's so special about this immune response is it not only calls upon more macrophage to remove the ink, it calls upon, or it stimulates the ones that are existing with the ink to remind them of the ink and remove it. So when we were first developing, we actually added this ingredient to a saline mixture, and it did remove ink, but it still wasn't fast enough. So I'm going to talk about the different process that we took for that. The other thing that 1,3-beta-glucan does is it works with allergic reactions. It helps the body suppress the immune system that is having an allergic reaction. It also releases growth factors to help with the healing of scar tissue. So we will talk about the amazing results that we are having, that surprise us every day, as far as healing pigments and removing scar tissue. And it really is life-changing. So the second ingredient that we put in is bentonite. Now, we were looking for something that had an ionic charge, very similar to the saline. And bentonite has been used for centuries as far as wound healing, and also as far as chelation for soldiers to drink it and pull out, toxins, chemical warfare. It helps heal the gut, but also has been proven in research in laboratory animals to heal wounds 50% faster topically. The thing about bentonite compared to saline is it's very gummy consistency, kind of like chia seeds, where it just goes in and pulls. This is what we call our ink chelation technology. It's pulling from surrounding tissues. So it's grabbing onto the ink. So not only are we stimulating those macrophages to release the ink, but we're also aiding and pulling the ink from pulling it up to the surface. So that was amazing. And when we put that ingredient in, you could just see the ink pull up to the surface. It was mind-blowing. But the second part, it's our third step, we actually created a topical mask called Withdrawal, because the ink's on the surface, and so now we're like, okay, now what? We need to get it out of the surface. We need to show it where to go. So with the Withdrawal mask, we put charcoal in it, activated charcoal, which binds toxins. It's been used again in the medical industry for wound repair. They even have it in dressings, surgical dressings. So we put that in there to show the ink where to go. We also put the bentonite in it, which again, it has electromagnetic charge to show the ink where to go. It increases the oxygen of the area to, reduce inflammation, so you'll see the redness go away. Actually, when we put this on our clients, they love it because it's very soothing. It calms down the redness. And we did a side-by-side with and without, and it actually pulled out 50% more ink with the mask. So it's this key component, because we stimulate it, now we need to show it where to go and pull it out. So that is our withdrawal mask. Then our aftercare is very special. We are very fortunate to be able to use Dr. Ben's patents. I don't think Dr. Ben mentioned, but he is the formulator and creator of Osmosis Skincare. So it's very popular here in the US, in the UK, also New Zealand. I think, Ben, are you in 17 different countries, something like that?
Something.
So with our aftercare, it's very special. We get to use his DNA repair serum. So how we differ, again, from other modalities out there is we do what's called a moist healing. So we keep that wound moist. And this actually heals and repairs 2 to 3 times faster. And the reason is we're giving it to that environment to heal and repair. So it's cutting down the inflammation stage of wound healing, and it's accelerating the proliferation or the remodeling stage of the wound healing. It's also one key point that I wanted to point out with all our modalities is our pH. That's very important. I know there's some saline removals out there that use coagulants in theirs. We are actually opposite. We want our pH to be alkaline. We want to keep the blood flowing, because if you're coagulating, you're clotting the blood, that traps the ink. It's not going to flow out. So our modality is always keeping the pH, plus bacteria can't grow in a pH environment. And take note right now for, us keeping our immune systems boosted during this pandemic, to keep our bodies alkaline too, by drinking warm lemon water throughout the day. That'll, help to alkaline your bodies. So with the DNA repair, it's also alkaline. So it allows, during the healing process of the aftercare, for more ink to be pressed out. The DNA repair has 2 patents in it. It has AC11, which has been clinically proven to increase DNA repair. And then it has zinc finger technology. Zinc finger technology is very similar. It helps to heal DNA repair. It helps remodel scar tissue, normalize pigments. So basically, we're giving that wound the new nutrition it needs to heal and repair during the process. So if you're thinking of like PMU makeup, the scab, it's pooling, it's tight. The energy that your body is and cells that it needs to form that scar tissue is taking a lot from that nutrition of the skin, and it needs to heal and repair. So keeping it moist, it's actually, you don't have that pooling of the tissue, so it's less painful. And you have, you're keeping the intact integrity of the skin and giving the nutrition it needs to repair and normalize. So, and then we have another aftercare serum that we use periodically. And this one is called Heal, and it has a patented ingredient in it called triaxylon. And basically what this does is increases localized oxygen, stabilized oxygen. So if you think of somebody that is like diabetic or has poor circulation or has a sensitivity that needs more oxygen to actually heal, this is amazing. So with all of our modalities, because of the 1,3-beta-glucan helping allergic reactions, the bentonite clay able to pull the toxins, allergic reactions out of the surrounding tissue, and then the scar tissue revision. It's amazing what we're seeing. We had a guy in Egypt that had 4 lasers on his head, and he was pigmented. And after 1 treatment, we not only removed the ink that was remaining, but we helped heal the pigment as well, which is amazing, especially after 1 treatment. Jenny in New Zealand had a girl that had a scar in her eyebrow, and when she went to remove the pigment, it also removed her old scar that she had. So these are nice, game-changing surprises that we have, because you know, as an artist, you want to keep the skin intact. So if you need to correct it or whatever, we have that modality.
Can I jump in real quick, Tina?
Absolutely.
Listen, we have, as you can see, a whole panel of people with immense knowledge, and we want to get to them. We don't want this to be too long of a presentation, but I thought there was a couple things I wanted to emphasize based on what you were saying. Number one of the key aspects of Heal with that patented ingredient trioxylane is it's fantastic for ink allergies, because the oxygen will actually, the way your body removes allergens is oxidation. And so it actually uses that oxygen from trioxylane to dismantle, if you will, the allergen, thereby reducing the itch and the whole situation. So very uniquely, something we can add to it. I also just want to go back to the very beginning and paint this picture for you. Many of you understand how tattoo ink removal works, but it comes down to a really simple concept. Everybody wants to disrupt the skin in order to disrupt the ink, in hopes that the body will carry some of it away. And so a laser does this by exploding the macrophages, but unfortunately, this sends toxic ink throughout the body. It also creates so much heat in the skin that the wounding effect almost always leads to increased scarring. And we know the limitations. So there's certain colors you cannot do. We also know that there's a certain minority of the population who use lasers where the ink cooks into the tissue. So it goes beyond being really kind of held by a macrophage to being held within scar tissue. And that makes it especially challenging for people. And the other issue with laser is that it's a much longer process and less ink is removed because of the limitations I just mentioned. When it comes to, you know, the other remedies that have been tried topically, using needling in most cases, right? So just about everybody is disrupting the skin with needling. How you disrupt the skin matters, and you're going to hear our insight into that. And I saw a question go by about which needles we use and all, and we are going to definitely give you that detail. But this idea of disruption and how Tina was trying to describe that there's just a limited inertia of tattoo ink removal, and then then the body just goes back to healing itself. And so there's not necessarily this ongoing ink removal process like what we've designed with our system. So for a lot of these systems, I think they just don't have the technology to keep the process going. And so that's one of the big benefits of what we're using. And then finally, I just want to say, you know, what does saline really do? And while Tina's right in describing that it has this osmotic effect and it's pulling fluid and dehydrating cells, if you will, that's not necessarily pulling ink out. They literally have to hope with those types of procedures that their needle is like a needle in the haystack worth of luck in breaking up that macrophage to get that ink released. The macrophage doesn't just necessarily see that saline and go, oh, let me explode for you. You know, it's not that easy. So the science of using macrophages to recruit new macrophages, the science of using 1,3-beta-glucan to recruit new macrophages so that new levels of ink can be addressed and removed is a huge breakthrough. It's patent pending, and it's something that we really can't emphasize enough. It explains why our results are proving to be so much better. And that's where you just got to go back to what are the before and afters of all the companies, and how do they stack up? And I don't know, Tina, are we showing some before and afters today? Do we have anything in the collection?
We have some on our Instagram that we posted today. Thanks, Sophia,
Great.
by the way. And I actually wanted to add upon what you said about lasers. Our process Xtract is great complementary to laser. So if you had laser and then the procedure stopped, because basically if you think about the laser blasting into nanoparticles, and then your laser is not going to see the ink anymore. It's too small for it to recognize that. So it leaves like a gray shadowing and scar tissue, like Ben was saying. This is a great complementary for after lasers, and we've done this over and over again, where we've gone in and not only removed the ink shadowing that laser left behind, but the scar tissue too. So it's, you know, if you did have laser, or if you have a bigger area that you want to get laser, then, you know, we are definitely complementary for that.
It doesn't make sense if you're going to create a bunch of scarring. It just doesn't make sense to use any approach that creates a lot of scarring. You're trying to get rid of something on your body. The last thing you want is a nasty scar in its place. So on that note, I don't know, Tina, where do we turn
well,
it over to?
This is a great segue to our next speaker, which is Erika.
Erika.
So Erika Resener.
Hello.
She's from Texas, and she's our international master trainer. You've probably seen her speaking at in Miami at the IPCS and Cancun too. So I'm just going to turn it over to Erika right now.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, so I am besides being a trainer, of course, for Xtract, I am a permanent makeup artist. And before getting into permanent makeup, I, as a massage therapist and esthetician, always fascinated by how the body works, and very, very passionate about skin. And I did have the privilege before microblading and permanent makeup became super popular again. I had the privilege of being a trainer for microblading. And as I traveled around the United States, the one thing I saw that this huge growing need was for removal. Removal was continuing to grow and grow. And this started me on my quest for looking for companies to train with to have successful removals. Well, the one thing, and I've been trained in 4 different modalities, and I've had online training, I've had hands-on training. And the one thing before Xtract that I found in every single company, no matter who it was, whether I took training with them or not, is nobody addressed the integrity of the skin. Nobody addressed, number one, the scar tissue that was being done during the removal process, right? The damage to the skin. But it also did not address the former damage that was put there from the bad permanent makeup. So there's most of the time when we're removing permanent makeup, it's because there's been a lot of damage that's been done to the skin. There's scar tissue that's there. So now you're going in to remove permanent makeup that's already scarred, and now you're creating more scar tissue. And then what do? Well, the person wants you to put the permanent makeup back on. And how are you going to do this? Because now there's so much scar tissue within the skin that a lot of times it doesn't accept very well. And now you're not able to get a beautiful, natural, soft look. They're getting a harsh look taken off. Now they want a soft look, and you're having trouble getting that. And it's because there's so much scar tissue there, and it's inconsistent results. So that continued my quest in traveling to be able to learn. And when I was introduced to Xtract, I was blown away. I was blown away by the science that's behind it. The mission behind it is absolutely amazing. And I'm sure we're going to talk later in another webinar about Xtract's mission and how you can be involved in that. But it's absolutely amazing how much information they give you. And all the other trainings that I've had, they don't give you enough information. And Leah's going to talk later about our training and why we feel training is so important. But the one thing that I love about Xtract on the product ingredients that address the scar tissue is, of course, we talked about the 1,3-beta-glucan. The 1,3-beta-glucan not only addresses it addresses previous scar tissue. So now you're able to break up the old scar tissue, as Tina and Dr. Ben said, and you're able to start this remodeling process. So it's actually very effective. You don't even have to remove a tattoo using this product. You can also use it to work on previous scar tissue to soften that and to create better skin. Anytime the skin is damaged, you can only basically I'm losing my word, but you can only put the skin back at 80 to 90% of what it was. And the only way to do this is to be able to give it all the support that it needs. Well, the only way to do, oh, sorry, Dr. Ben, go ahead.
Sorry, I just interrupted. I was saying, I think you were looking for remodeling, skin remodeling.
Yes, thank you. Yes, so the 1,3-beta-glucan addresses that. And then after this process, as Tina, all the ingredients that go into it, but then the repair serum. And by the way, we're finding out more and more information through the patent process of 1,3-beta-glucan and the wonderful things that it does for the skin overall. And then you have the DNA repair serum, which increases DNA repair 33%, which is huge. And then, of course, combine that with the moist healing. And all of that together creates the best possible results in the skin, the best possible remodeling that the skin can have. It is absolutely amazing. As Tina was saying, the pictures that we have of people who have had scars in their brows, and we've been able to soften those. People who have had scars. I've even worked on a few scars of mine. Leah's done that for me. So we have all these examples of where this actually reduces this previous scar tissue and helps to remodel the skin to be able to have a cleaner slate to be able to accept this new permanent makeup. Of course, another thing that goes into that is needle technique. Needle technique is crucial, absolutely crucial. You cannot you can have an amazing product, but if you don't know how to properly needle, you're not going to give the skin the best chance it has at remodeling. So you have to be able to have all these components combined in order to have the best results. And that is why our training is so very important. And I've had online training, again, had hands-on training, and you have to have hands-on training to get good needle technique. I've seen too many people, even well-known people, who do needling techniques, and it's not good. So they're not giving they're, for one, using a product that is not the best, and then on top of that, their needle technique is causing more damage. So, and they were wondering why they're not getting the best results. Well, that's part of the reasons why. So I guess this is a good way to Leah, do you want to talk about our training? Leah's from the UK.
Hi guys. So my name's Leah. A few of you will know me. I think we've got a few of the kind of the CT lot in the group already and commenting. I originally was like a body tattooist. So I went into permanent makeup I think in 2015. And not quite as many as Erika, but I was trained in 2 other modalities. One was your typical McDonald's salt sachets and saline water mixed together, and the other was another kind of pre-made kind of saline brand. I think I trained in the removals kind of 2016 and then possibly early 2017, and I just wasn't getting the results that I wanted or the results that I was even promised. I didn't have any hands-on training. I kind of went to a couple of different courses, and did a lot of theory, which was great, and then not as much as I really needed to know to be getting any form of results out of it. So I kind of carried on researching. It was 2018 that I initially found Xtract, and it wasn't until 2019, it was April, that I flew out to Canada and Erika. And then since then, we've been working on some really, really interesting cases over here, actually. I'm working on a really, really great case that we'll be posting once we get, I think, maybe another 1 or 2 sessions, a really interesting allergy removal case of full granuloma through the eyebrows. And we've recently done an emergency removal case as well that we'll be posting results for. And we're actually going to be doing some other webinars on these topics specifically as well. So we'll be talking about allergic reactions in a webinar in itself. We'll talk about why it is that we can do those emergency removals. And we're not talking just like a soak, a product soak after emergency removal. We are talking like full-on needling, because of our technique, as Erika said, keeping that skin intact. So yeah, it was April last year. We've been working on loads of cases over here. It wasn't until October 2019 that we launched Xtract training in the UK. The great thing that I found about Xtract is the quality of the training that we are committed to providing. As I mean, all of us individually, we're all very, very passionate about providing high quality education. And again, as Tina was explaining before, it's not, there's so much science behind these products, and we really want you guys to have a solid understanding of why these products do give us the results that they do. And we don't want to just give you a fact and this is that. We want you to really, really understand, which is why our training is broken down into, well, at least 3 separate kind of areas. So your first area for your training is your online education. So we're currently in the process of actually rebuilding our online education. So you've got 7 chapters within the online portal. And I think there's a total of like 43 modules between those chapters. So you really are getting a hell of a lot of information. Obviously, we want the information to be easy to take in as well. So we're in the process of uploading some new videos, and just to make sure you kind of get as much as you possibly can before you even come on your face-to-face hands-on kind of training course. So as both Ben and Tina were saying before, Xtract really, really, because of the products and the technique and the aftercare, we really do reduce the risk of creating any scar tissue. Because as we know, if you put a needle into anyone's hand, as Erika was saying before, if your needling technique isn't correct, you're always going to run a risk of doing some damage to the skin. So we really, really want to make sure you're getting that hands-on practice. The reason that we do the online course beforehand is so that you can get all of the information, and you're already coming with a kind of a solid base of knowledge on the products and how you're going to be doing your treatment, basically. Then we do the 2 days training, so you don't just come, you're not just in and out one day or half a day or anything like that. On your first day training, we are kind of going through that theory again, and we're spending a lot of time practicing on any other brand that I've used before. And it is all about, as Erika was mentioning, keeping the surface of that skin intact, keeping the quality of that skin as what word am I looking for? As like as high quality as possible. That's on your day one. So we're doing lots of theory, lots of practicing on your day one. On day two, we're making sure you're working on a minimum of 2 models. So we don't want you to kind of just be in and out and not feeling confident with the needling technique itself. We really want to give you as much hands-on practice as possible. Our classes are 4 students to a trainer at an absolute max. So you've always got someone who's going to be helping you. You're never going to have 4 models going in the class at once. If anything, there's 2 models going on at once. So there's always a trainer available to help and guide you and just make sure everything's going, obviously, to plan. Where are we? Then following your training, this is, you've done your online training, you've done all of your modules, you come in and you've done your 2 days face-to-face training as well. Following that, you get added into our international support group. So we've got all of our trainees who trained in Xtract are on there, and you also get added into a smaller private WhatsApp group. So we tend to create that between the students who've been on your course with you. And the reason we do this is because you're not only learning off your own case studies, you're also talking about everyone else's, and you're getting all of the information and all of the different examples of everyone else's case studies as well, because we do get our trainings to complete 3 case studies before certification. So you can utilize that group. We encourage clients to take photos and keep us updated, and that way we can all talk about each person's treatment and we all learn from that as well. So after that, once you've all completed your 3 case studies, they're submitted through the online portal, which again, we're updating on the website at the moment. So you'll have a proper place where you can go and update your, upload your portfolio pictures for certification. Let me just make sure I'm covering everything.
Leah, can you go into why we do hands-on, not only for the technique, but insurance?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, that's literally on my list. I was like, there we go, next thing to go into, 100%. So as Tina was saying, we not only do this because well, we should, for one. It's the only way that you're going to get the most out of any training that you do is if it's face-to-face, if it's hands-on, and if you've got someone almost critiquing your technique along the way. But I know a lot of you that are on will be from the UK. Our course, it's slightly different, obviously, all around the world. In the UK, regulation is that you need to have done face-to-face training to do any form of removal. Our course is accredited by PMU Link and is insured through InSync Insurance. So, I mean, you're more than welcome to get in. I can put you in touch with the girl that I deal with at InSync Insurance. But yeah, you absolutely have to. We can't just do one without the other. We can't give you just the online training or just the face-to-face training. You need to have both of those to really, really get the most out of the training, and obviously to be insured to do the treatments within the UK. So with the training itself, you're going to get unlimited access to the online course. As I've just mentioned there, and we're actually updating ours at the moment. So even when things have been updated, even when we might alter the course a tiny little bit online, you'll always get a reminder notification if anything's changed, and you'll always have access to that. So you can go back in, you can read back through if there's any updates to anything. You'll receive a full training manual, over £300 worth of products with your kits. As we've said, hands-on practical training and your online training. Lifetime support. So like I say, you've got the international group, which is a private group on Facebook where all the technicians are, and you'll have slightly more personalized WhatsApp group with the girls that you've actually done, girls or guys, I apologize, that you've done your training with. And we are going to be doing these webinars a little bit more often. So there's certain webinars obviously that we can do to the whole public, and there's other webinars which will, and they will be more focused on maybe needling techniques or advanced techniques or little bits and pieces like that. You're also going to be listed on the Xtract website. As a business, if you reach out with any charities or anything like that, as Dr. Ben explained the mission statement earlier, if anyone does want to, once you've qualified, if anyone does want to offer free removal treatments for anyone who has unfortunately gone through the sex trafficking trade, then we provide the products for those treatments themselves as well. And you'll all be listed on the website so people can find you by location. And another thing that we're going to start doing even more, so I know you guys do it more in the States and we need to push this in the UK, is having inside the portal our marketing assets as well. So stuff that you guys can use for advertising purposes. I'm just trying to think, is there anything else that I need to go through? Just talking really about other webinars that we're going to be doing. Once you have trained in your removal with Xtract, it doesn't just stop there. Because of the products that we use and because of our techniques, we can remove from areas like the eyes where a lot of other removal solutions might not be able to do. So once you've done your initial training, there is the opportunity for you to develop and go even further. So there'll be advanced workshops such as your eyeliner removal, scalp removal and scar tissue as well. So yeah, please write any questions that you've got about training or anything like that, and we're going to do a kind of a Q&A at the end. So I think Laurie's going to be checking on the questions, and between us we'll all kind of go through them. But I'm going to pass you guys on to Julia now. You there, Fab? There she goes.
Hi everybody. I don't know if y'all can see me or hear me. I hope so. My internet was playing up a little bit, but anyway, just to introduce myself, my name is Juliana Milin. I changed my name about a year ago on social media, so I'm going by Juliana now. A little bit about me. I've been a trainer for 5 years in microblading and permanent makeup. I founded a company called Brow Design International, and collectively throughout the United States, we have trained over 2,000 students in microblading and permanent makeup. Now, I saw the need for having a tattoo removal or a PMU removal solution very early on, but unfortunately I wasn't very happy with anything that I had found. Everything had its problem. It was cost, or it was how many sessions, or it was scar tissue, or it was, it didn't work so well. So about 2 years ago, we found Xtract. And it literally took me 2 years to join the training team because I wanted to be absolutely clear that it's something that I believed in and something that worked before I put my name behind it or before I joined the team, you know. What sold me on Xtract, this is probably the most important thing that really, really got me on Xtract, is the fact that Dr. Ben is involved. Having a doctor behind you during removals, and not just me as a trainer, but all the students and everybody who uses the system. If we have a problem that we as permanent makeup artists cannot solve, they are right back. Like if I have an issue, I will text the group, the mastermind group, or Dr. Ben, and he's got an answer for me. And for me, that is so important, because things happen with removals that you don't see, that you've never seen before. And if you're not a doctor, you can really hurt somebody, right? So that's really important. And I waited a long time before I joined a training team. So anyway, I've been using Xtract now for 2 years, and in the 2 years that I have been using it, the techniques have improved. They've changed a lot, and now they're just amazing. I can literally return skin back to its normal place before the tattoo actually took place. And I said before in the notes as people were talking that I can literally return skin back to normal so that I can actually microblade over it. Who's ever been able to microblade over skin that has been removed? I haven't been able to do that. On laser, it's a mess. On saline, I have a little bit of scar tissue after I've seen some saline removals. But Xtract, it literally removes, it returns the skin to almost to what it was. And so I did a lady, she was one of my clients for about 6 months. I did an eyeliner removal and a brow removal on her. And I redid the brows on her, and I haven't been able to do her touch-up yet because we got quarantined. She sent me photos, and it looks amazing. Microblading, not even machine shading. Anyway, I digress. But that kind of gets me into the topic that I wanted to discuss during this live webinar, and that's your business, okay? Adding Xtract or adding a removal to your business is extremely important. Why is this important? Okay, when I first started microblading, nobody was doing microblading. We had virgin skin to work on. It was a dream. Nowadays, this is not the case. Everybody's doing microblading. They think it's easy. They can just go for $150, go to the nail salon on 8th Avenue and get it done in the back room. And they think, you know, oh, it's cheap, it's easy. No, these girls, they end up, I don't want to say botched, that's kind of rude, but they end up with hair strokes that are done too deep, too thick, wrong color. I fix blue eyebrows, all sorts of stuff, walk into my office. Now, one thing, yes, I want to help these women. I feel sorry for them. Yeah, it's a terrible thing. You know, you trust somebody with your face, you think it's going to be okay, and you find out later it wasn't okay. How are you going to know that? Most clients have no idea, and that's what I deal with on a regular basis. Okay, so that's getting to help somebody. Number two is, if you can't remove that tattoo, you're not going to be able to take that client on, because you can't keep putting in pigment on top of more pigment. It's impossible. You need to remove at least 75% of that saturation before you can even do a correction. So that's number two. Not only are you gaining money from the removal process, you're also gaining money from doing a correction in the client. So having a removal technique under your belt in your studio, in your business, is extremely important for your longevity. And that's what I discovered. So the reason why I chose Xtract over everything else that I had studied, looked at, was two things. The price, actually, that's not the most important thing. The most important thing is how well it works. And it works better than I even imagined. And number two, the price. It is extremely affordable for us as artists. We use rotary machines, we use regular tattoo needles. The serums and supplies, they're very affordable for any artist, for all of us, right? So that's really important, you know, because when we're doing removals, oftentimes the client, they're upset because they paid $500 for their botched brows, okay? And then they got to pay for another 3 sessions, 1 to 5 sessions to remove the botched brows. Okay, so that's more money on top of that. So we don't want to gouge them. We can't charge like, you know, $400 or $500 for session like they do laser. I mean, it's not the right thing to do. We really want to help that client. So anyway, that's my piece about the business and why I got involved in it. I think I was supposed to talk about whether Fitzpatrick's that was done in one of the comments.
Yes, that's one of our questions. Yes.
Yeah, Fitzpatrick's. It is absolutely safe to work on all Fitzpatrick's, and that's very important. I haven't done any dark Fitzpatrick's yet. But they will come. I've had a Fitzpatrick 4 and a Fitzpatrick 5, and the results are quite excellent. And Tina, I don't remember the ingredient in the aftercare that's very important, that actually helps aid the scar tissue. And there's some things I want to say that I'm afraid to say right now, because some things that were done in private.
Yeah, our DNA repair helps to normalize pigment. So if you think of your melanocytes, you know, that's what gives us pigment. Those get damaged. And with the DNA repair, it repairs all DNA damage, which includes the melanocyte. So it can help aid to normalize the pigment after. So it is very safe, you know, for any Fitzpatrick.
Too. That was something that was really interesting to me, was the ability to heal scar tissue.
Right.
And to possibly prevent keloids. I don't know if there's still case studies done on that, but that was extremely interesting to see.
Right. We had a girl in China, actually. She had laser tattoo removal, and she was keloided. Okay. But you know, obviously her ink was still there. So we did a removal on her, and they were just blown away because it did remove her scar tissue. It evened it out.
I'm sorry, but that's just amazing.
It really is. The whole keloid idea is there's so many people that need that. I don't know if it's 1 in 3 people keloid when they scar, but What it appears to be is keloiding is the effect of an interruption in normal wound healing. And what's in catalyst that prevents that are things called hydroxyproline, hydroxylysine, hydroxyglycine. They're the tools that the body uses to keep the wound healing going. And we have a shortage. A lot of people, I think, and some people genetically have a shortage of this, so they tend to keloid. So you're keeping the process moving in a timely manner, and I think that's what's stopping the keloid. But you're right, Julia. We need to figure out if you know, how, like, this may be a whole new industry, scar revision, as a, you know, added to everything else we do. It's really exciting.
Yeah, I'd like to see more case studies. That would be very interesting. But I mean, it's the aftercare. I'm completely blown away. Even with my own clients who should be scarred by their laser removal, they come back and their skin is like clean. It's incredible. So that's my piece. That's my selling
Awesome.
point.
Well, I saw that we had a bunch of questions. Lori, did you have any questions?
Yeah, actually, she texted them to me, so I'm going to address them. One of them that Lori didn't put on here, which I thought was really interesting, is we've had a couple people that hyperpigmented on their lips after having the lip blushing. This is something definitely we can aid with. But we have, so Julia answered the Fitzpatrick. We have Erika. Can you address basically how many treatments, an average, what are the factors of it, and the size of the area?
You're talking about for removal. So it depends on how much a person wants to have removed. We don't want to go any larger than a 3x3 at a time, and that's inches, not centimeters. So 3x3 inches is what we can safely remove at a time. And it's because we don't want to overwhelm the immune response. We want the body to be able to heal optimally. And so the way we do this is letting the body focus on this one section of time to be able to purge the ink and to be able to remove it. But every 3 weeks, you can do another 3x3 section. So if you have a section that is larger, then you can take a 3x3, and then 3 weeks later, do another 3x3, and then 3 weeks later, go back to the same one or do another section. So just depending on the body and where it's at. That's for larger areas. If you're trying to do full removal, 5 to 6 sessions is average for full removal. If you're trying to lighten for brows, I've done anywhere from average 1-2 sessions. A lot of times is what you're pulling out. That's all it takes. There have been situations where I have gone more than that, though, and that's for your older style brows, such as a lot of people refer them to as Sharpie brows or grandma brows that were done years ago. And the artist, the style back then was to drill it in as saturated and as deep and dark as possible. And so those are a little bit harder to remove, especially if it's in the subcutaneous tissue. That's when it becomes a little bit harder to remove. There was another part of that question.
Well, I think they were wanting to know in comparison. So on average, we're seeing anywhere from 3 to 6, but you're saying expect 5 to 6 treatments to remove the ink. This is in comparison to, say, a typical laser where you're going to get about 15% ink removal, and it's going to take 12 to 15 sessions.
Yes.
And then, you know, I don't know if you have enough experience, or maybe Julia or or Leah can speak to sort of some of the older saline only kind of approaches to tattoo ink, and whether you could even give a quantity of sessions if it's even removing enough ink to say that, like, there's an end game there to where it's gone. What's your?
I wasn't brave enough to continue with those removals after so many sessions because I could see the difference in the skin. So I stopped. With Xtract, though, even talking to other artists, because the one thing that's amazing about Xtract is as a trainer, you find that most of the people that you train have already been trained in other modalities, and they're looking for something new. They're looking for something that's actually going to work. So it's those clients or those students who are coming over that are saying, oh my goodness, or the clients who have had sessions in other treatments before in other modalities, and all of a sudden they're like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe how this compares, the difference that it's made compared to other systems. Of course, not to say that other systems haven't had good results, but it's nowhere near, if you talk to any student, it's nowhere near as like it can be, one person had a good result, whereas all these other people, they didn't have a very good result. The one thing about Xtract, it's more level as far as people get good results no matter who you are. And of course, again, I've had a couple of people, the Sharpie brows, that are more stubborn, and it took, more than that, 7 actually for one lady. But it was because it was so deep into her subcutaneous, her fat layer. As far as that's the comparison there. But there was another part of that question too, Tina, that you were asking.
This, I think you answered it all. It was the size
okay.
and how many treatments. We do, I'm going to basically go off what Erika said. People that have used saline over and over again, I love their response. They're like, call me up. Are you serious? Is this really what I'm seeing? Or removals that we had, it's posted on our Instagram, where they had 4 saline removals. It was a green, bright tattoo flower, and it just didn't touch it. And we were able to pull it up after one. So, I mean, again, we started off looking at the saline process, and we kept adding, and that's what you do with any formulation or building, is like, okay, what are people doing and how can we improve upon it? And so we wanted to get the most ink out of there. We work great with titanium, which a lot of saline doesn't. It balls up like cottage cheese, and all of the trainers here have seen layers and layers of white titanium, people trying to cover, and to go in there with our ink chelation and actually grab it out is amazing. So the next question is for Leah. Can you go into needle configurations and why?
Yeah, of course. So with the needles, I'm a bit of a needle nerd, really. I think it especially comes from the kind of body tattooing side of things. With our needles, it's almost the bigger the better. So I do obviously have to be careful. I don't want to go too much into technique. I'll get a slap on the wrist because I don't want to look like I'm trying to teach over here. As we know, it would be insurable. But the larger the surface area, the less trauma we're essentially doing. We're minimizing that kind of exfoliation of the skin. We don't want to just completely exfoliate it away. So we use anything really from 23 Magnum, 18 round on some areas, up to 25 Magnum, 27 Magnum. Obviously, it's going to depend upon the type of tissue that you're working on, but whether there's scar tissue in the area, how big the area is that you're working on. Obviously, the eyeliner removal will be slightly different needles and techniques to the brows or the body, for example. But I'd say our most commonly used needles would be, I know for me it is either the 23 soft edge Magnum or the 27 soft edge Magnum. Yours are the same, Erika, as well, and I think Julia, you're 18 round shader and the 27 Magnum, aren't you? So yeah. We are going to do another webinar, I think, on kind of needles and needling and stuff like that. So we can go into it more then. But yeah, like I say, the larger the needle, the less trauma to the skin, essentially.
Okay. And then cost per treatment. I guess we'll have to break that down, UK and USA. So Leah, you want to give cost per treatment?
Yeah, is this for the technicians, yeah?
I would do both. Yeah,
so it is slightly different, like you're saying, from UK to US. We tend to charge slightly separately. I know some technicians will bundle their aftercare products and the treatments and everything else together. How we do it in the UK, how we recommend, it would be up to you once you're qualified, obviously, is we sell the client their repair separately to the treatment itself, because the repair, depending upon the size that you're working on, can last kind of between 1 and 3 treatments. So we sell that to the client for around £75 it's generally around a 15, I think it's £15 profit. You know, more than that, in fact, £20 to £25 profit you can make on that product from what you purchase it from us as a distributor. And then the treatment itself, the absolute bottom line, like bottom line you should be charging for this treatment is kind of 125 to 150, but that is like bottom line. We do recommend you charge more for this treatment. We are aware that when you've just trained, you will charge lower prices because you want to be building up a portfolio and showing people your pictures. But because of how quickly we can do this in comparison to like laser removal, for example, yeah, they might be able to get their laser treatments cheaper per treatment, but they're going to be paying for that treatment 15, 20 times. Whereas with this, they're only going to be paying for it between 1 to 5 times generally. As Erika was saying before, maybe 3 to 6 body tattoos, it does tend to be less treatment for permanent makeup. So between 1 and 3, I find for your permanent makeup. For the cost of that for a technician, if we're taking all your setup and everything into account, so that's the products that you're using, your needles, kind of all of your tray setup, I'd say you're going to be looking at around £20, 20 to £25.
Yeah, I was thinking 25 USD. So
yeah, it's about £20 UK.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about good products and not skimping on them either. So I'm not, I'm not one of those people who is like, oh, let's try to go really cheap. I want to make sure that everything is properly done and completely covered and safe and sanitary and the best thing that I can do for the client.
Yeah.
So, I mean, would it be fair to say that it's they can expect to make 150 pounds or 150 US dollars an hour, right? Because the process of cleanup and prep and everything is about an hour?
Yeah, obviously it depends upon the size that you're working on, and it also depends upon, especially to begin with, how effective and efficient the technician themselves is with their technique. It can take a little bit longer to begin with whilst you're kind of getting used to everything. The more you do, the quicker you get. So yeah, if you're looking at around that profit margin.
And ideally, if you've stacked up some clients, you're going to have somebody numbing while you're in the middle of this procedure. So, an hour turnover, I think, is reasonable, especially if you have that going on. So
a little
150 pounds an hour, obviously, that's a very well-paying career. The trick is, of course, getting a client base. And, that's part of what we want to help everyone learn how to do, right? So is that some of what you do, Leah? And I'm sure Julia is doing some of that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's what we're going to push with rebuilding our website as well. We're going to have like the asset center like you guys have. So we're going to have more stuff for the technicians for advertising. Because it's, I guess for clients with things like this as well, because it is such a revolutionary kind of process, it is a bit of like fear of the unknown. So it is getting them to commit to that kind of the first treatment, commit to that aftercare. And once they're through it the first time, they're kind of pros and they're nowhere near as much of as a bother on like second, third treatment. But it is just kind of nailing down the clients, just to get them through that first treatment. And a lot of it, I know, Erika, you're really big on this, and you explain it, really well, even to me, but a lot of it is about your client education and your client's expectations.
It is. It's 100%. It's how you talk to the client, because there's so many times as soon as you bring up the word removal, people are absolutely turned away. They don't want to do it. They don't want to go through it. They've heard horror stories. It's everything negative, and so they're automatically shut off. But there is a way you talk to the client and you educate them. And doing this, by the end of the conversation, every single person who comes into my door will be 100% ready to book. Rarely will I tell somebody, okay, let's go ahead and wait. A couple of times somebody's like, okay, I want to book, and I'll tell them I'm like, you know what? I want you to go home and I want you to think about it. And I'm going to give you a day. And they literally call me the next morning and yes, 100% I do want to do it. So it's all about the way you educate and talk to the client.
And we want them committed, because that wound care that they're doing is pretty critical. And so the more let's say, disengaged they are, that can lead to issues that none of us want to deal with. We had one case in the very early phases of this where the client basically did no wound care at all. Had a tube socks pulled up over the tattoo, and he got infected. So, that's also why I'm here, to back you guys up and to make sure everybody does their thing. And we're going to have these clients who are not necessarily, the best at following our advice. But, we do make it pretty foolproof. And just know that the more diligent they are in their wound care, the more amazing the outcome.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And just to make sure I create realistic expectations for everybody, like Dr. Ben was saying, an hour turnaround time, that's after you've gotten good. Of course, in the beginning, like Leah was saying, you have to give yourself a little extra time to be able to learn, because you're not going to be as skilled with the needling technique. People think it's just like permanent makeup. When you first started with permanent makeup, everybody was like, oh, I'm going to be so great, so fast, and make easy money. No, you have to put in your time. You have to actually do it for a little bit. You get good at it, and then you're whipping them out like nothing, and you feel really, really good about what you do. But you do have to, which is why we have such a good support group and why we have such good training, because we want everybody to be successful and be as excited about this product as we are.
I agree with you 100%, Erika. And I just want to jump in, and I get a lot of people asking me, can I just learn this online? I'm already a permanent makeup artist. I know what I'm doing. No, you have to come in for in-person training, because the needling technique is different. It's different than, and it took me by surprise too. And I'm very good at PMU, very experienced. When I started to learn Xtract and learn the proper needling techniques, it was a learning curve I had to get through. So it's very important that you take a hands-on. Just wanted to add that.
Yeah, definitely.
And I know, Tina, you probably have one or two more questions. I'm going to add one more thing that I think is really important. This is one of the most amazing parts of this career is the feel-good effect when you are, obviously, if you're helping a sex trafficking victim, there's just nothing that could be more rewarding than removing that memory. But just on a day-to-day basis, whether you're beautifying someone through permanent makeup, or you're removing a very painful ex-husband's name from an arm, or whatever it is, it's a great opportunity to help really improve someone's life. You'd be amazed at how rewarding that aspect is, especially if it's somebody who's, let's say, has an ink allergy around their eye. And it's not just about the cosmetic of it. They're literally in misery all day long with watering eyes and or swollen, and it affects their entire life. And you can help them through that and get on the other side. So it's super rewarding career if you haven't already jumped in with both feet.
I actually do think that was massively what almost sold Xtract to me. But the fact that it was almost instantly, as soon as I'd done my training, I came back and obviously did my portfolio and developed my technique and stuff. And then I was straight onto that allergic reaction case. And the fact that we could do that is, to me, it just blows out the water. I'm just like, it's mesmerized by the results that we can achieve and how much we can actually change people's lives with situations like that.
Absolutely.
Yes. And one other thing I was going to add is that with other removal systems, of course, people have like emergency removal where you can go in within 24 hours. And then after that, you have to wait until the skin heals. With Xtract, we do not have any waiting period. You can go in immediately after. You can go in 24 hours, 48, 72, 5 days, 7 days, 9 days, 10 days. It does not matter when. The sooner you can get to that too, the better. So you don't have to do a waiting period. That's one of the wonderful things about it. You have no waiting period. So if somebody has gotten an undesirable result, you can immediately start the process at any time.
We just have a couple more questions, and some of them we've already went over. So maybe Dr. Ben, you can kind of add a little bit to this. But the first one is, does numbing diminish the results? I'll let you answer that then.
There is a component of vasoconstriction that comes with the numbing process. And so what that means is you're reducing the circulation to the wound. It's it's a necessary evil. Essentially, the process can be painful, and a little bit of numbing is necessary. So I'm gonna say yes, there is a modest diminishment of the effect, but honestly, I don't see another alternative. And I would say, I mean, there might be that tough case who's like, hey, if there's any chance of making the result better, can I go without wounding? Yeah, I think you can if you're the tough guy, but I'm not signing up for that.
Right.
I'm just going to just quickly jump in on that one, because obviously in the UK we can't use any anesthetics with adrenaline, epinephrine or anything in it. So I mean, the products that we use, I'm not finding a massive effect from them. We use LMX as a prenom, so you don't get any of the like blanching of the skin or anything.
Oh.
And you're in the treatment as well. So because we can't use anything like your tag or your magic or anything.
Right. And then, I'm sorry, the needling technique too. You know, when we perfect the needling technique, you know, again, we're not ablating the top skin. We're going right to where the ink is, so below the nerve endings, and we're allowing, because we're staying on that one spot, we're not going all over the place. We're allowing, you know, those endorphins of the skin and allowing the brain to have that pain.
Yes, that was one of the things that I was going to talk about, Tina, is that with correct needling, your client is so much more comfortable. I have performed this procedure on females without anesthetic. So it can be done, like Dr. Ben said, a lot of people are not going to sign up for that, but it can be done. I don't recommend it. If the person wants anesthetic, then by all means give them a little bit of anesthetic. But really your needling technique, as Tina was saying, it allows the body's response to be able to do its own numbing, so to speak, psychologically as well.
You'll never get a guy to do that. Only women can have the pain tolerance. Men would whine the whole time. I've had a baby. What do you about? Hit me.
I have done it on a male as well.
Okay.
Anesthetic, so it was for training, and he was willing to let the student see the difference or let him feel the difference. So it was nice.
Okay, the other question, Dr. Ben, is they want to know why not a scab, why moist healing? We touched base on that, but can you go into that? And then also,
so the original theories that I read about tattoo ink removal was they wanted a scab because the scab holds, they could see ink in the scab, and so they away from the process that the clearly the scab was the reason why we could see ink in it. It must be drawing it in like a sponge, and that's just not how it is. This that there is fluid and flow happening in a wound as long as you can allow it, and the more fluid, and when you allow a scab to harden, it does create a protective barrier. I mean, there is a reason why the body does this. It's to, I mean, I guess I don't want to get you too confused, but the scab has a protective purpose. But in the case of ink removal, what we want to do instead is keep the fluid moving so that the ink can continue to leak out longer and more effectively. And I don't know if we don't have quite an established number of how significantly that improves ink removal, but anecdotally, by looking at it ourselves, we've seen as much as an increase of 50% more ink comes out in this process, as Tina mentioned, by allowing that fluidity. So it's more about fluidity and that than anything else.
Erika did a shoulder, and she wasn't applying the aftercare, so she wasn't keeping it moist, and actually stopped the process. And then she went ahead and she added the DNA repair, and then you could see the ink chelation starting to flow out again 5 days later.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
Also, I have also had clients who we started on with where it dried out too fast. And then the next time that, and this was 3 different clients that this happened, where they did not do proper moist healing in the initial sessions. And when they finally started doing this moist healing, they even brought it to my attention that they were amazed how much more ink came out by keeping it moist. And so at that point, they were completely sold and had no problem doing the moist healing. So it is amazing the difference on how much it will cool out. And that's one of the things of educating your client on why this is so important and how many times do you want to go through this, right? Once or 5?
I think it's interesting what Tina was obviously saying before, that with other methods of removal, once you finish the treatment, that's it. The skin's just going to close up and heal. Whereas we can allow that inculation to continue happening for up to 21 days. So we can allow so much more ink to remove from the body. I've had clients who had almost mirror images of their tattoo on their dressing, because you can, the colored ink and everything, you can see it. So yeah, I think that's a really interesting point, that we can allow that to happen for 3 weeks.
Yes, those pictures are absolutely amazing. I use those in my presentation. They're absolutely
I don't know if
amazing.
I've seen that yet, by the way. Send me that, please.
Yeah, I will do.
And I've seen the inculation after 21 days. At that point, we did need to let the wound heal, but or scab up. But there was a section of it that was still purging, which is amazing.
Okay, the other one was hypopigmentation, Ben.
Oh, well, I'm not sure we've done a lot of testing on that. Obviously there's different types of hypopigmentation. You have vitiligo. That's not something this would be applicable for. But some sort of a post-burn experience where they have hypopigmentation, I honestly think there may be an application in the future. I'm not recommending it now because this is something we're going to have to test internally. But it wouldn't surprise me if the same way that we sort of reset the wound, because all the things that we're doing is essentially resetting the skin conditions and giving it a new opportunity to heal in the correct way. That's why the fibroids and hypertrophic scarring, can be addressed through this method as well. So I think there's a chance in the future, and if someone's got a tattoo over a hypopigmented zone, please share your results and tell us if you saw some changes in that as well. It certainly wouldn't surprise us at this point.
Yeah.
I am currently working on a victim who has a lot of hypopigmentation burns on her, in addition to me removing her tattoo. So as that process continues, I will make sure that I share pictures on that. Our next session was scheduled, and now it'll be scheduled after we are no longer quarantined. So
we have one final question, and that is, who can be trained with Xtract? Obviously, you have to look at your business, and permanent makeup artists, SMP artists, medical tattoo artists. This is something essential, for your clientele. We do have another brand for medical professionals called Xtract. So we have a number of basically naturopaths, laser centers, physicians that are also using. We've had a lot of nurses that are great rock stars with the needling. However, that requires a little more training, because if you are not used to the needling technique and used to, knowing the skin, we do require a little more hands-on with that. But we definitely could train anybody in those fields. So as Leah was saying, we are going to be doing these webinars, trying to give you as much information and detail of everything that we went over today. Probably a little shorter than this, because it won't be the whole panel of us. It'll be just a few of us that we could go in depth more of everything. So while you're sitting at home, and we want to be there for you as well. So Ben, do you have anything to close? Benjamin? Okay, Leah,
Yes.
do you have anything to add to closing?
I think we're planning on doing the next webinar. It's on Tuesday, isn't it? If anyone has any suggestions about anything specific that they would like to know about, obviously you can contact us all on our social medias or email addresses. I think that's kind of it. We're going to be doing them as much as possible. For the UK guys, our training website is currently down because, like I said, we're rebuilding it. I think I saw someone before asking where the training is. So it's based at our training centre, which is South Manchester / Cheshire. If you want to host training, we do travel around the country. We just try to stay like 4 people on the training, basically, for us to travel to you guys to host it. But yeah, if you guys let us know anything else that you want us to talk about, that's everything from me.
I'm just going to jump in. I have to sign off. I apologize. I want to thank everyone for staying attentive and asking great questions. And hopefully you've heard some great things from us. I'm always available for questions and support for this amazing group and for every one of you that joins up and joins the cause. So I look forward to speaking with you in the future.
Thank you, Ben.
Thank you.
All right, I'm back. Okay.
Well, I think you're on mute there, Tina.
We also have a poll at the end.
Oh, we have that.
Yeah, so anything that you want us to talk about or touch base on to go a little more in depth, please just sign up on the poll so we know what your thoughts are. So thanks. Have a great day.